Howdy gamers, old gamer guy here. Stranded Alien Dawn is a colony building game that's very similar to RimWorld. There are some tutorials in the main menu here, but this video is going to be me starting a new game and playing for about an hour, and this will be edited, but I will talk about, my impressions of the game. Here we have our scenarios. Crash landing is very much like the default RimWorld scenario. Trading outpost has you attempting to buy a planet, so you're trying to stay permanently on the planet eventually. And then military outpost has you landing with some more weaponry and things at the beginning, and you're trying to build a relay. But I'm going to go with the crash landing. Then we can choose our region, and we just have two to choose from. We've got a desert region and one that looks much more pleasant, so I'm going to go with that one. And then I think these moons are basically like the storytellers in RimWorld. Concordia is very balanced. Chaos does not sound like it would be very balanced at all, and I'm guessing that the other two are somewhere in the middle there. But I'm going to go with Concordia. Then we have the game difficulty, starting resources, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to go with hard because it says it's for players who are familiar with the genre. I'll probably regret that. Then we can set up our seed that will be used to generate the map. And I'm going to use my PlayStation Network ID, which is Mystic Strummer. And then we have some game rules. So you can increase your maximum number of colonists. You can make them permanently happy. You can make things generally more peaceful. You can get random survivors instead of choosing them. You can give them all no skill, or you can give them all great skill. But I'm just going to leave all that turned off for this playthrough here. We start off with 4 random survivors. You can see over there on the right the different categories that make up their stats. And this is very similar to RimWorld if you ever played RimWorld. I'm just going to choose 4. I'm going to choose one that's good at farming, one that's good at healing, one that's good at combat, and one that's good at construction. This is not the best group of survivors here. I'm going to discover a little bit later on that, several of them have 0 skill in certain things. So I wasn't really paying attention here, but you get the idea. You're trying to get a good balance of traits. They will have positive traits and negative traits, and you're trying to get a good mix of people. I don't see a way to customize and make your own character, which is kind of disappointing. I would like to choose a portrait that looks like me and then give them skills that are kind of similar to what I would have, I think. But, you can't do that, at least so far. But never mind that. We have crashed on this planet, and we need to start surviving. Debris continues to fall from the sky as I move the camera around and try to get used to the feel of the controls. And I would say overall they feel pretty intuitive for the most part. There are times when I'm playing and I feel like maybe they could be tweaked in certain ways, but I feel like I'm getting used to them fairly quickly. You can hold L2 and use the digital pad to run the game at 3 different speeds or pause time. Hitting up on the digital pad will take you to the character portraits. Hitting right on the digital pad will take you to the notifications. Hitting down on the digital pad will bring up these menus. That bottom menu can be scrolled through with L1 and R1. And then that second one can be scrolled through with the digital pad. Like I said, it's pretty intuitive. There are times when I have to reissue commands, but I think I'm getting used to it all. We have an ecosystem around us with various plants and animals. There will be nighttime. There is a day and night cycle, and there will be weather of various types. You will see a storm happen later in this video. I've also seen like toxic rain, I think it was, or toxic clouds or something like that. So there are different types of weather conditions. But as you can see, I am beginning to set up our campsite. And I'll probably keep repeating this throughout the video, but it's all fairly intuitive. You hit down on the digital pad to bring up those two lower menus. You choose your category with L1 and R1. Then you choose your specific thing you want to build with the digital pad. And when you click on an item, you will bring up menus related to that item. And there are various shortcuts, I think, that you need to get used to. And that's kind of the learning curve with these controls. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and only a limited number of buttons on the controller. So I feel like they did do a pretty good job of bringing this over to consoles. But like I said, every once in a while I hit a situation where I think, well, maybe these controls could be tweaked a little bit here and there. I think part of my issue is that the interface is kind of similar to the interface for Anno 1800, but not exactly. So I'm sort of falling into a familiar rhythm in certain ways, but every once in a while I will hit something that doesn't work the way I expect it to. And I'm an old gamer, so I don't know how much of that is me just being slow to adjust and how much of it is the game being unintuitive, if that makes any sense. We have scrap metal and other things, including a laser pistol, laying around the wreckage on the ground. But now that we have a stockpile space marked, when I unpause time, you can see that some of the survivors start to automatically transport things over to our stockpile. Maki is still crying. She's still quite traumatized from the crash. Can't say I blame her. In the orders section of that lower menu, you have some commands to chop down trees. So you can drag a space like this with the X button. And then whoever has the relevant skills will go over and start cutting down those trees. And then other people will transport the wood to the camp. So people do things according to their skills. Sometimes you'll see them kind of idle and standing around. It's good to keep them busy, of course. And you have some basic knowledge when you start the game. But to learn new things, we need a research desk. And to start crafting things, we need a workbench. So all of this, or a lot of it, is very, very familiar if you have played RimWorld or other games in this genre. A lot of this is very, very much very familiar. You feel very at home with it. We're cutting down trees, which gives us logs, but then if I put this chopping block here, we can turn those logs into sticks and make other things out of those sticks. Your colonists will appreciate having a table and chairs as opposed to standing around and eating on their feet. I built a table in this video, but I don't think I ever built any chairs. So they have that table standing there. But here's the research desk. And you can queue up, it looks like 5 different categories. And so you will research them in order. And when you get done with one thing, you move on to the next. So it's good to look at the various topics and kind of categorize and prioritize. I'm going to start off with weaponsmithing, and then we have wooden fortifications, construction basics, tailoring seems pretty important. So I'm going to queue up some of this, and over time whoever has the relevant skill will go over there and research. I think Maki is our main researcher, and then I think Jack will go over there every once in a while to research. Yeah, there goes Maki. Maki's researching that first topic, and everybody else gets back to what they were doing before. Emmeline just took a walk there. There are leisure activities and leisure things to build that will increase their relaxation. We can have somebody observe these plants so we can learn about them. We don't know what they are, but once we observe these things, we will find out that they are edible, and then we can plant them. And we can start scavenging the wreckage. And eventually we'll have to research how to completely break down the wreckage and totally get rid of the crash site. You can see the animals are fighting and hurting each other over here in this little valley nearby. So some animals are aggressive, some are passive. Quinn is over here observing this leafy plant. Jack is scavenging the wreckage. Now Quinn is scavenging the wreckage, and Maki is going over there to observe the plant. Selecting a character brings up that menu on the left, and then you can go over there with the digital pad and then use L1 and R1 to go through the various tabs. We can equip the weaponry, whatever available weaponry is around. We have one laser pistol, so I'm going to look and find out who has our best combat skill. That is Jack, so I'm going to give him this pistol to start with. But as we scavenge the wreckage, we may or may not find other weapons. Later in this video, I will find some sort of a pulse rifle, I think, and then I'll give the pulse rifle to Jack, and I'll give the pistol to Emmeline, I think has the second highest combat skill. But there goes Jack. He'll go over there and equip the weapon, and then he will go back to doing what he was doing before, or in this case, he is prioritizing going to sleep. I have the game paused, but as soon as I unpause, he'll go to sleep. This should look very familiar to you if you have played RimWorld also. The activities menu, you can select which activities you want each character to do according to their skill levels and their preferences. You can also bring up a number system and prioritize things that way. So Emmeline is our best cook, so I'm going to set her cooking activity to 1. That will make it her top priority. And then Jack is our weapons guy, so I'm going to make him our hunter. Then over here under the schedule part of the management menu, we can look up the schedule for each character and set their relaxing, working, and sleeping times. So I'm going to give them all time to sleep. I'm not sure how much sleep they require, so I'm going to give them I'm giving all of them 8 hours here. I'm not sure if that's necessary or not. And then we'll also give them a little time in the morning to do whatever they want to do. And then we'll go over here in the middle of the work day, and we can give them all some break time. And we'll stagger the break time just to make it so that not everybody's taking a break at the same time. Although sometimes it's good for them to do that because they'll be talking and socializing. Maybe they'll get along, maybe they won't. It could put them in a better mood or a worse mood. So yeah, you never know. You have to kind of watch what they're doing, watch their personalities, and assess if you want certain characters to be around each other, because they might start fighting. You won't see that in this video, but There were a few times where somebody makes a comment that pisses somebody off, or somebody makes a comment that the other person likes. So we just completed our research on weaponsmithing. So now if I go over here and look at the workbench, there is another category, craft weapons. And we have spears, short bows, and crossbows. We don't have the materials we need for the short bow, but I'm going to make, right now we have one pistol, so I'm going to make 3 spears for everybody else. So everybody will have at least some kind of a weapon. Another night has fallen. We still don't have our second shelter because I didn't realize it, but I had not set up my activity. My activity menu was not set up properly. Here I'm messing around with the overlays on the screen so you can clear some of the HUD off if you want to. That's all down in the management menu. Observing that plant taught us that it was edible, and we're calling it grain cob, so I guess it's kind of similar to corn. But once we learned about it, that gave us the ability to plant it, and that opened up a farming tab in the menu. So you can look at the ground and see what the type of soil it is and how fertile it will be for the thing that you're trying to plant. And our people with the relevant skills are automatically getting to work. And then I finally realized how to set up my activity menu properly to get people working on the construction. Quinn was scavenging the ship over there, and he walked off and took a short break, and now he's walking back over to the to complete this shelter, and then he's going to get to work and start crafting spears, and so then I can give them to the other people in the camp. So everybody will have at least some kind of a weapon. Meanwhile, Jack is continuing to research another topic. There we go. We found the pulse rifle in the wreckage. Quinn brought it over to the stockpile. And now I'm going to go into the menus here and give Jack the pulse rifle, and then I will give the Jack will go over, and when he picks up the pulse rifle, he'll leave the pistol in that spot, and then I can get Emmeline to pick it up. So we'll have 2 people with ranged weapons, and then everybody else will have a spear. I assume that if you gave somebody a ranged weapon and a spear, that they would switch back and forth as needed. You know, if an animal ran up and was attacking them point blank, I think they would automatically switch to the spear. Not totally positive about that, but it makes sense to me. Now we have a campfire available in our camp menu, so we can place the campfire, and if we had anything to cook we could cook things on the campfire, but we're not going to have anything for a little while still. You can see on the right side there it says low food supply in 2 days, so we're slowly running out of the food that we had when we showed up here on the planet. So we're going to have to do something and get some extra food somehow. We're growing the grain cob over there, but I don't know how much food that's going to give us. Eventually I will plant a second field of grain cob, but I don't think in this video, I don't think we ever actually harvest the grain cob. But you can see everybody getting to work. There's that second field of grain cob. Emmeline is planting some of it. And then she's going to lose interest and kind of wander off a little bit. And Maki is going to start planting. But oh, look at this. A storm has arrived. It's not the best looking storm I've ever seen in a game like this, but it doesn't look bad. The clouds look cool. The lightning looks cool. The rain looks kind of basic, but it is undoubtedly a heavy storm. And people are getting soaked, and they don't necessarily like that. So it's good to have a roof. Who knew? Who knew that humans would prefer a roof to not roof? But we are running out of food, like I said. It says we'll be out in 2 days, so I'm going to start looking around. I don't know what these plants are. We could have somebody observe those. Maybe they're edible. I don't know. We could also start to try to hunt some of these animals. But while I was moving the camera around, these mushrooms caught my eye. So I'm going to send somebody over here to observe these mushrooms. And it looks like Quinn is going to go for it first. I haven't really said much about the graphics, but you can kind of see that the game looks pretty good. You've probably noticed some flickering, especially at night, which is kind of odd. Hopefully they can fix that, but I think overall the game looks pretty good and seems to run pretty smoothly. It's obviously very colorful. I keep mentioning RimWorld because that is the most similar game to this one. But RimWorld has a very cartoonish, stylized sort of an art style. This one looks, I guess, technically more realistic, but RimWorld is more distinctive looking. So, you know, this looks nice, but it's also quite possible that you might prefer the look of RimWorld. I think RimWorld is also probably deeper because it has existed for a lot longer than this game. This is a brand new game, even on PC, whereas RimWorld has been out for years. But never mind that, because our stomachs are really starting to growl. We're getting very low on our food. We've got an animal over here. I think I saw some of these animals actually eating some of our crop. So maybe I should go ahead and hunt this thing. But I am starting to feel a little bit desperate. And so I started looking around again for possible food sources. I found a bird's nest over here on the ground. And then there's actually a dead animal right here. So I could go over here and butcher this thing and possibly get some food out of that. But I decided to hunt this animal because it's fairly close to our camp. Jack is busy researching, so Emmeline is attacking this thing on her own. And she's going to do a fine job. I was afraid she was going to go over here and die or get really hurt. But never mind that. A new survivor has appeared. Vanessa was in a separate crash site, but she saw the smoke from our campfire, and now she is arriving and asking us to join our camp, and I told her she could go ahead and do so. So she needs a place to sleep. I will also have to go into the menu and mess around with her activity schedule and all that to prioritize the things that she does, but otherwise she will just automatically show up and start doing things. So she's got a bed, but she's automatically going over here to observe the orange mushrooms. So she, as soon as she joined our roster, she started to help us out. And she has a place to sleep. So now we've reached another nighttime, but oh my God, we've got aggressive animals nearby. But of course, this is also sort of a solution to our food problem, except that these things are bugs, so that's kind of gross. But we have some large beetle looking things over here, a big group of them. And over there on the notification menu, it tells us that they are going to attack us. But we do have some time to prepare. So we need to get Vanessa a weapon. Everybody else has a weapon. And then we have a little time, so everybody can still, for the moment, they can continue doing what they were doing before. I don't have to stop them from doing their tasks just yet. But I do need to keep an eye on these bugs. Looks like they're being distracted by this bird over here. And that bird is actually going to kill at least one or two of them. But they're going to hurt the bird to the extent that the bird will run away, fleeing for its life. There it goes. And it's actually a little faster than they are, so it is going to get away, it appears. I can draft one colonist, or I can hit triangle to draft everyone that has a weapon. And then I can bring them all together into a group here. Ideally, I would have some fortifications and some walls and some traps and things like that, but obviously I do not have those things just yet. Vanessa is on her way from observing those mushrooms, but here come the bugs. You can see the radius for the ranged weapons, and then a radius for the melee weapons. The melee people will start to fight when the bugs get here. There they go. So now everybody's fighting. People are getting hurt. Vanessa has arrived, so she's helping out. The spears are working properly, but yeah, you can see people are getting injured, and probably they're getting blue beetle guts all over them. So that's not good. Surely that's not sanitary. But here we go. We've got a bunch of dead beetles here. I'm going to undraft everybody. And then we'll go over here. We've got a bunch of beetles in a group here, but I'll go over here to this one, and we'll have somebody observe this one so we can learn about the beetles. And then we'll drag out a little work area so we can butcher these overgrown insects. And then when I unpause everything, everybody will get to work. But first I'm going to set up a task to make meat soup out of the insect guts. And we're going to make 20 of these. It will spoil over time because we don't have things properly stored just yet. But it will create some food for us. You may hear me burping up some seafood pizza right now, actually. Just in the interest of full disclosure. You can also see my controller, I think, is having a little bit of a, what do you call it? Dead space, dead zone. It's a dead zone problem. You can see my controller is kind of having some random movements. I need to clean it out, I guess. As Emmeline is cooking some beetle soup. But that is about what happened in my first hour of gameplay. I really like this, except for the flickering on the screen. That hopefully they can fix that. But I like this type of game. Hopefully, if you've never played this type of game, then this video has given you a decent idea of what it's all about, even though my opinions are sort of vague. More videos soon, but for now, as always, thanks very much for watching.